What's up, Marvel fans? I'm Steven from the Hills Maniacs, and I just recently watched Marvel's newest Disney Plus series, Wonder Man. I kind of just wanted to give some of my thoughts on that series and sort of give it like a rating at the end based on what I thought about it and everything else. So, without further delay, here are my thoughts on Marvel's Wonder Man series. So if you didn't know, or you didn't even really know that this show was coming out or whatever, I guess the premise of the Wonder Man series was it's an actor named Simon Williams who's trying to get the role of Wonder Man in a movie, and Wonder Man is a character from another movie, like in the MCU or whatever, from the past, and they're remaking that movie, so Simon Williams wants that job, but as it turns out, he actually has superpowers himself, so it's kind of this whole thing of him trying to get that job and keep his powers a secret and everything else. And it basically shows us the struggles that he's going through trying to be an actor in Hollywood and trying to keep his powers contained and keep it a secret and everything so the world doesn't know that he has powers. And along the way, he meets and sort of partners up with Trevor Slattery, played by Ben Kingsley, who we've seen in other projects before, like Iron Man 3 and Shang-Chi, and even the Marvel short that they did a while back, All Hail the King. We know that Trevor Slattery was an actor that was hired by Aldrich Killian in Iron Man 3 to portray the role of the Mandarin, and pretend to be a terrorist and everything. We found that out in Iron Man 3. He wasn't actually a terrorist. He was playing one so to make up for the mistakes that Aldrich Killian and his company were making and the explosions and that kind of stuff, so they made it a sort of terrorist attack. And so he's kind of helping Simon sort of get that role, I guess, or he's kind of helping him be a better actor and that sort of thing along the way. And there's obviously other stuff going on as well, but that's basically the premise of the series. So now I'm going to kind of just dive into some of my thoughts on the show overall after seeing all 8 episodes or 9 episodes, whatever it was, that premiered on Disney Plus. So first of all, there were a couple things I liked and didn't really like about the series. I'll talk about what I liked first, and then I'll get into what I didn't like. The first thing I did like was that, it gave us a look into the life of an actor, the struggles that they go through to land these roles and the kind of roles that they get, or the struggles that they go through when they don't get the role, like how they kind of, I guess, get depressed and that kind of thing, or they try to find another role to get and it's really hard to do. Like, it gave us a cool insight into sort of the background and like behind the scenes kind of stuff that actors deal with on a daily basis when they're trying to live their lives as an actor and trying to get these jobs and everything. Like, throughout the whole series, Simon Williams is trying to land the role of Wonder Man, or he's trying to get whatever gig he can. Like, we see him sitting at home, reading through scripts. He's making changes to the scripts himself. Even though he's not the director, he's kind of making, suggestions for the script for his character and everything. And that's something that, like, real actors would probably do. Like, I don't think he should say this line. I think the character should say this one, and that kind of thing. I thought all that was kind of really well done, because a lot of the time we don't really get to see those sort of things, not just in superhero movies and that in general, but just, things about actors where, like, we get to see their life and everything. We don't see a lot of that kind of stuff in movies and TV shows nowadays. So that was kind of a neat thing to see, even though it was in, like, this Marvel project. Also, I kind of like the way that it sort of built up to revealing that Simon has superpowers. Like, we didn't really, if you don't know the character from the comics, you don't know that he has powers. So it's kind of like this slow build sort of thing where it gets to this one episode where we find out that he is an enhanced individual, as they call him, and he does have superpowers. And those powers seem to kind of stem from, like, stress and everything. So you can kind of see where there's that tension there where he's stressing out about his life as an actor, and that stress kind of boils over into his powers, which cause explosions and that kind of thing. Or if he gets really angry and that sort of stuff, he can cause explosions. So his powers kind of stem from whatever emotions he's dealing with. So if he can't keep his emotions in check, he can become dangerous then, and his powers can kind of explode out and hurt somebody or something. So he has to keep all that contained and sort of try and manage that stress, but he's also stressing out at the same time. So it's kind of this sort of counterbalance, and I like that we kind of got to see him have to put up with the stresses of the actor life and of trying to get this role and be perfect and everything else and not mess it up, and also trying to keep himself from, exposing his powers to the world and everything. And the fact that, we find out that the Department of Damage Control is trying to get to him because he has these powers. I think that added to the tension as well, because we now know that he's on their radar, so they're looking for him. And so we know that he is actually this really dangerous person even before we actually see his powers really do anything. So he must have done something in the past that got them to keep him on their radar. So I like how they kind of slowly incorporated that into the story, where like at first we just think he's like this simple man. Maybe he's going to end up with powers somehow while he's also trying to play this superhero in a movie. But to realize that he already has powers, I thought that was a nice touch to sort of slowly build to that. And I like the fact that they had the DODC using Trevor Slattery to kind of get the inside scoop on Simon Williams as well. Like, because they offered to keep him out of prison if he would assist them in, tracking down or learning as much as he can about Simon Williams. So that's kind of why he gets close to him and everything else. I like that aspect of it, where like Trevor's kind of a double agent, but he's also ends up like befriending Simon and kind of feeling for him, so he doesn't want to spy on him anymore and ends up turning on the DODC. So I thought that added a bit to the story as well. I kind of like that dynamic where Trevor's trying to keep it a secret that he's working with them, and Simon has to keep it a secret that he has powers, and he doesn't even really tell Trevor that. So it's all kind of this like everyone's keeping secrets from each other kind of thing, and I think that really added a lot of tension to the overall story. I also did just like the way that Ben Kingsley portrayed this character. Like, yeah, I didn't really like the reveal in Iron Man 3 that the Mandarin was just an actor that was hired by Aldrich Killian, but I think Ben Kingsley still did a nice job of sort of playing that sort of bumbling, idiot, drunk character that he was when we found out that the Mandarin wasn't real. And then to see him again in Shang-Chi, he's still kind of the same. Like, he's just this goofy character. And even in this, he's goofy as well, but you get more of a look into his life sort of as well. Like, he gives a lot of knowledge in the acting department to Simon Williams, and, they both quote different actors and different quotes from movies and that kind of thing toward each other. They kind of, bounce ideas off of each other and that kind of thing. So seeing him in this sort of almost more serious kind of role, but he also does have some funny moments, I thought really showed how good Ben Kingsley can be as an actor as well. Like, I almost feel like this wasn't just a story about Simon Williams or Wonder Man. It was also kind of a more in-depth look at the character of Trevor Slattery as well. And I thought Ben Kingsley did a nice job of acting as Trevor Slattery in this show as well. Now, for some things I didn't like, in my opinion, the show kind of felt more like a soap opera almost, rather than an actual superhero story. Like, I said that I liked the acting and the aspect of them showing us the life of an actor and everything, but I feel like they lingered on that a little bit too long. Like, there were maybe too many episodes. I feel like they could have maybe just had this be 6 episodes and it would have been fine. But they focused on the acting part of his life more than like the superpowered part. Like, we didn't even really get to see how he got his powers or really what his powers are exactly. Like, it wasn't explained enough for us to understand why he has these powers and that kind of thing. Like, he does say in the show that he doesn't know how he got his powers either, so maybe he's a mutant and one of the mutants that they're going to be using later on in the MCU or something, but they don't really follow up with that. We don't get a flashback to show how he got his powers. It just kind of happens. He just kind of has them. They spend more time focusing on the acting part of his life instead of the superpower part, which I think kind of takes away from a superhero show that's set in a world of superheroes. Like, it doesn't feel like it belongs in this kind of genre. Plus, there's also really no villain in this show. You could maybe count the Department of Damage Control, but they don't really ever go after Simon. They end up going after Trevor because he ends up going back into pretending to be the Mandarin again because Simon accidentally causes an explosion, and he takes the fall for it by taking on the role of the Mandarin again. So they never really interact with Simon at any point in this series at all. So there's technically no villain in this. So the fact that they don't show him with his superpowers and they don't show him ever fighting a villain or anything, that again makes it not really feel like it's a superhero TV series. It's more of like a drama or something showing us the life of an actor rather than an actual superhero series made by Marvel, set in the Marvel Cinematic Universe alongside the Avengers and that kind of stuff. There's also an episode that focuses on an entirely different character that's only referenced in passing, really, at one point, like in the episode previously. So they made a flashback episode to this character. His name's Doorman, and I guess in the comics he's a member of like the West Coast Avengers or something. He's this character that gains the ability to have people like pass through him or have objects pass through him and things of that nature. So he's kind of like a human portal, basically. So they kind of focus on him for this entire one episode. And what happens with him at the end of the episode is never really like followed up on. It has nothing to do with Simon's story other than the fact that that character was also an actor and something happened where basically they had to ban all superpowered individuals from becoming actors in the future. So like that kind of has to do with Simon. That's why he's trying to keep his powers a secret in the first place. But other than that, it doesn't really have to do anything with the story that they're trying to tell with Simon Williams. So that felt like a wasted episode. And again, like I said, maybe they could have done a couple episodes less and been fine. But the fact that they went like 8 episodes and wasted one of the episodes on this other random side character that doesn't come up at all again for the remainder of the series just kind of didn't really make sense to me, in my opinion. It was kind of a good episode, and I think that character seemed far more interesting to me than Simon Williams did. All of that kind of didn't really make any sense, like why they focused on him instead of Simon, or even why they didn't tie that into the story. They just kind of had a random episode, so it didn't make any sense, and I kind of didn't like that was in this show. Like, they could have just maybe, like, had a flashback, it's like 15 minutes or something, and then get right back to the Simon stuff or something. Like, I know there's a lot they could do for, like, a second season or whatever, but they should have shown more with Simon as a hero, as a superpowered individual, as a eventual superhero, like later down the line or something, instead of saving that for a second season. Like, he doesn't even really wear the suit in this either. Like, he doesn't actually become Wonder Man. He doesn't take on the persona of Wonder Man in real life, just in the movie that he's portraying the character in. Like, I get, they were trying to be different and everything and give us something different like they did with, like, WandaVision and that kind of stuff, but in my opinion, it just didn't really work for me. Like, I don't feel like I want to see Simon Williams again in a future MCU project unless they can find a way to give us an origin of his powers, give him a fight with a villain so we can see how strong he is, what his powers are, what he can actually do. But until we get that, I don't feel like he's really that interesting of a hero, in my opinion. So if I were to, give the show a rating, out of 5, I'd give it like a 3 out of 5, only because, like, as a sort of drama or about the life of an actor, I feel like it was alright. It would be like a 4 out of 5, whatever, if it was, in that kind of genre of a show. But since it's set in the world of superheroes and it's meant to be like a superhero show, it didn't really feel that way to me. So I give it a 3 out of 5 because the acting and all that was still really good, and I liked certain aspects of it and that kind of thing. It wasn't the worst thing they've ever made, but it wasn't the best either, so that's kind of why it's a 3 out of 5 for me. I just feel like they could have done a little bit more with it to explain who this character is, since a lot of us casual fans may not even know who the character is. And I get that there are shows that they're making nowadays, like, you don't really have to watch them. Like, they're trying to make ones that aren't really connected necessarily to the overall events of the MCU, so that they're not, like, required viewing and that kind of thing. But I still feel like it needs to have that same kind of Marvel stuff going on, the superhero versus the supervillain kind of stuff, in case this character does pop up in a later project. So, like, since we didn't get that stuff, it doesn't feel like it belongs in the MCU to me. But let me know what you guys think down in the comments. If you saw Wonder Man, what did you think of it? Did you enjoy it? Did you think it could have been better? That kind of thing. Let me know all that down in the comments. Also, be sure to like this video and subscribe for more, and check out all the other Marvel content we have on this channel as well if you're a Marvel fan. And as always, thank you for watching the video, everyone, and I'll see you in the next one.